If you've ever had the opportunity to sail off our local coast, you may have encountered the Outpatient, a boat not remarkable with the exception of its crew. Access to Sailing is the program founded and run by Duncan Milne. Thank you for joining us this morning, Duncan.
Thank you, Michelle.
Tell us all about Access to Sailing.
Well, we are fortunate enough to have started about 5 years ago in Newport, and basically what we do is to take hospital patients out sailing as a form of recreation and occupational therapy. We generally take people who are inpatients from various hospitals in Orange and Los Angeles counties, and most of the people who are on the boat either have had a stroke or a spinal cord injury, or in some cases a brain injury. And so we find that taking them out on the boat gives them an opportunity to get back involved in life. So that's what we do.
And of course the key is you're not just taking them out on a cruise.
Oh, no. No, we want them to get involved. That's part of the therapy, and that is to get them not just going on a ride, but actually getting involved in working the boat as a crew member. So we encourage everybody to not only get involved working the ropes and so on to set the sails, but actually get behind the wheel and drive the boat. So I try to just sit back after we get the boat beyond the breakwater and the sails are up. I move over and say, who wants to drive now? And I'll take a break.
Do you ever have difficulty getting your crew enthused about it? These are people that have maybe just recently had some sort of a traumatic experience in their life, and maybe their self-esteem isn't what it should be. Most have probably never been in a boat before, let alone sailed a boat.
Well, you know, that's a good point. When I first started the program, I thought everybody would be thrilled about coming down. But as we have found, after an accident or injury that's kind of catastrophic, people many times they withdraw or have a tendency to withdraw, and even for a fun activity it's hard to get people enthused. But I find that by the time they get off the boat, their attitude is entirely different, and they're real happy that they came down and had the experience.
How long is the average sail once you leave from the dock and go out and come back?
Well, that's kind of up to the therapist. We leave it open to them to fit their schedule. Generally speaking, though, it's about 3 hours. We get everybody loaded up onto the boat and then get away from the dock. And it takes about 15 or 20 minutes to motor out beyond the breakwater, and then we set the sails, and we have about a 5-mile cruise with the sails up, and again getting everybody involved in sailing the boat, and then back again, and it's about 3 hours.
And tell us about the Outpatient. I'm assuming it is specially rigged for not only yourself, but obviously the people that you're going to have on the boat.
Well, Outpatient is a 30-foot boat, actually 29.5 feet, and it accommodates about 6 patients and a crew of 2 people. We have tried, or it's been my philosophy in the past, to limit any type of modifications that weren't absolutely necessary, because after all, the idea is to get people to use the therapy that they've learned in the hospital and actually get involved in meeting the challenges of the real world. So I want them to have to kind of stretch a little bit, getting on and off and moving around the boat. So we have made some modifications. Obviously, since it is a sailboat and it tends to tip in the wind, we've added seat belts to keep people from sliding into the cockpit and keep everybody safe and comfortable. But basically, I think if a person were to just walk up and look at the boat, it would look pretty much like any other boat.
And it really does, of course. I've seen the boat and I've been on the boat, and it really doesn't strike me as being any different than any other sailboat.
It's pretty similar to anything else.
Our viewers by now realize that you are in a wheelchair. How important was it for you to get a program like this started?
For me personally? Well, it was, I don't know. I don't know if I really focused on that, Michelle. I think it was basically just the idea occurred to me, and I thought it would really be something that would be special for other people. And then as I got into it, I realized what it was doing for me too, because it was allowing me to reach out and and maybe for one of the first times in my life, really help somebody, and I mean in a big way, help lots of people. So I think that I'm getting as much out of it as any of the patients that come on, and I thoroughly enjoy the experience. Every time I go out, it's just as wonderful as the time before.
Good. All right, well, let me stop you right there because we need to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. How do you find the people to go out on your boat? Do they approach you or do you have to approach them?
Well, actually, basically that is left up to the therapist. By and large, the population that comes down come from hospitals, and of course the therapists take their patients, and it's a win-win situation because of course they get to go out sailing too, so that's always good. But so since they do come from hospitals, the group is generally gathered by the therapists and then brought down in one of the vans or vehicles provided by the hospital. So I just meet them there at the boat and then we go.
How difficult was it to convince the hospitals and the therapists that, no, this just isn't a day on the beach, that we are actually trying to do something here and this may be good for the patients?
Well, I thought that I wasn't really sure about that in the beginning. So I asked some therapists from Memorial Hospital in Long Beach to come down and try it out and see what they thought. And they were enthused immediately. So I thought, well, maybe we've got something here. And then, so I was taking out Memorial patients primarily for the first couple of months back in 1988. And it spread pretty much by word of mouth. And so it's not like I have to go out looking for people. Sure. They find me. And I, of course, try to accommodate everybody. And we also, this year, have kind of widened our the numbers of people that we take, and now we're getting into other groups as well. The Crippled Children's Society, for instance, will be down with us next week. So we're trying to get the kids involved. That's important for me, too. And so, you know, every year it just gets bigger and bigger. So
of course, the outpatient isn't the only boat that you're using then at this point.
No, actually, we have several other boats. And when we have a group that's, of course, too big to fill just one boat, we spill over into another boat and we take as many as we have to get the group out. But I personally like to take just a small group so that I can interact with them personally and try to be on every cruise.
There is, of course, only one Duncan, so if you have more than one boat going out, who is actually working with the patients on the other boats?
I have other people who have gone through the Access to Sailing training class, other qualified skippers, and they go through our little course to get them familiar with the patient's needs and how to work with different types of disabilities, and so they take the other groups out. But as I say, I try to limit that as much as I can because I feel that it's important to have somebody who is coming from where the patient is coming from, to have somebody who has a disability so that when we're dealing with them, talking about the fact that they can get out there and do things, that they're not hearing it from somebody who's, you know, totally all together and is just sounding like they're just saying it.
Yeah, I think we heard that in the segment that we just saw too, and that you're really a role model for a lot of these people, and that, listen, if he can do it, you can do it too. And I think that's just a wonderful place to come from. Let me stop you again because we need to take another break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We'll be putting up the number for Access to Sailing. You need what? You need volunteers? You need help with funding? What do you need, Duncan?
Well, you know, I think what we really need is a bigger boat. I'd like to trade in the smaller boats that we have for one big boat. Something in the 50-foot range, I think, to get more people on one boat. As I said before, we can get about 6 patients on. And when we have more than that, I have to use another boat. And of course, I can't be the skipper on that because I can obviously only be on one boat at a time.
Right.
So I'm really looking for a larger boat and hoping that somebody will donate one. It doesn't have to be brand new. It just needs to be in serviceable condition. And so that's my fondest wish. And of course, we can always use funding, and as can every nonprofit organization.
Right.
But so we can use it all.
Okay, I know people in the past have donated sails and things
Oh, absolutely.
like that. I mean,
We've had some marvelous people helping us, and it seems that whenever we have a real need, people come through, and that's what makes the program go, and that's what's allowed us to get bigger and bigger every year. And I suspect that this year is going to be bigger than last. And we measure our success one patient at a time, and last year we had 550 patients out.
Wow.
6 at a time. And I look back on that and
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
You sail almost every day. I mean, luckily we live in Southern California where for the most part our weather is nice year-round.
Right. Of course, in the wintertime we slow down a bit because of the inclement weather, but in the summertime I'm out at least 5 days a week, and last year I was out 6, sometimes 7. But as I say, it's hard to say no.
Yeah.
And so I do what I can when I'm trying to get a schedule set up now where I can do it 5 days a week.
Is this the wave of the future for therapy for patients that have been in different situations?
Well, I hope so. I really do. I think that the more a patient can, not only more the patient can do it, but the quicker he can do it, get outside of the hospital environment, out of the clinical environment, and get back into life. The quicker he can do that, the better off he is. And I think that for the most part, up to now, most of the therapy that was done is usually done inside the confines of the hospital. And I think the patient has a tendency to progress faster when he's out of that clinical environment and out in the real world.
Yeah, showing them what they can do instead of limiting.
Exactly.
And telling them what they can't. We are out of time. Thank you for joining us this morning, Duncan. We'll see you again on Southland Today.